I'm Victoria Scott, 29, and I built my life on that belief. Blood protects blood, family first, all those bullshit sayings that sound beautiful until someone you love uses them as weapons. Andrew Bailey wasn't just my older brother, he was my fucking hero. When Dad walked out on us when I was 8 and Andrew was 12, my brother stepped up, made me breakfast before school, walked me home when kids picked on me. Told me bedtime stories when Mom worked double shifts as a nurse just to keep our lights on. I got you, Vic, he'd say, ruffling my hair. Always, and I believed him. For 21 years, I believed him. Mom died 2 years ago, cancer. The kind that eats you alive slowly, giving you just enough hope to make the ending hurt worse. Andrew and I held her hands in that sterile hospital room, machines beeping around us like some fucked up lullaby. Her last words weren't "I love you" or "be good." They were "take care of each other." We promised. Swore on her grave we'd always have each other's backs. I should have known promises made in grief aren't worth the breath used to speak them. After the funeral, Andrew and I went our separate ways geographically but stayed close. He moved to Austin to flip houses. I stayed in Dallas working my ass off as a real estate investor. We talked every week, texted daily. He was the first person I called when I closed my first six-figure deal. "That's my little sister," he said, pride thick in his voice. "Mom would be so proud." I made good money, really good money. By 28, I had $400,000 in savings. Not bad for a girl who grew up on food stamps, but Andrew was struggling. His last three flips had gone sideways. Market timing, contractor issues, permits getting delayed, all the shit that can turn a profitable project into a money pit. He never asked for help directly, just mentioned things, casually. "This permitting process is killing me, Vic, 3 months behind schedule. Found the perfect property, but my financing fell through last minute. Sometimes I wonder if I should just give up and get a regular job." The last one hit me in the chest. Andrew wasn't built for a regular job. He was an entrepreneur, a dreamer, the kind of guy who could see potential in a burned-out crack house. That's when he called with the opportunity. "Vic, I found it, the one we've been waiting for." I was in my home office reviewing property listings when his call came through. Something in his voice made me sit up straighter. "The one what?" "The house that's going to change everything for us, for our family, for Mom's legacy." Mom's legacy? Fuck, he knew exactly which buttons to push. "Tell me about it." Andrew's voice got animated, the way it used to when we were kids, and he described the tree house he was going to build us. 1924 Craftsman in East Austin. Original hardwood floors, built-in bookcases, those period details you can't replicate. But here's the kicker, it's been in the same family for 3 generations. Old lady died, kids live out of state, they just want it gone fast. I could hear him pacing. Andrew always paced when he got excited. Market value after renovation, minimum $1.2 million. Purchase price, $850,000. We're talking $350,000 profit minimum, Vic, maybe more if we do this right. My pulse quickened. I'd been looking for the right project to really level up my business, something bigger than the rental properties I'd been buying. What's the catch? No catch, just need to move fast. Cash offer 7-day close. The listing agent is a friend of mine, gave me first crack at it before it hits the market. How much cash are we talking? $850,000 total. I can cover $450,000, but I need a partner for the rest. And Vic. His voice got soft, the way it used to when he'd ask me to keep secrets from Mom. "I want that partner to be you." My chest got tight. "Andrew, I know it's a lot, but think about it. We started with nothing. Mom worked herself to death so we could have better lives. This could be the project that sets us both up for the future she wanted us to have."
Oh,
I stared out my window at the Dallas skyline, thinking about Mom, about the promises we'd made. We'd be equal partners, 50-50 split on everything, decisions, profits, ownership, Victoria Scott and Andrew Bailey building something together like we always talked about. We had talked about it. During Mom's last months when she'd drift off on pain meds and we'd sit in her hospital room planning futures that felt impossible. "Just think about it," Andrew said. "Don't answer now, sleep on it." "But Vic, this is our shot, our one chance to honor everything Mom sacrificed for us." I didn't sleep on it. I called him back an hour later. "I'm in." The silence on the other end stretched so long I thought the call had dropped. "Andrew, you have no idea what this means to me." His voice cracked. "What you mean to me? You're the only partner I can truly trust, Vic. The only person in the world I'd want to do this with." Those words hit different. After a lifetime of taking care of everyone else, someone wanted to take care of me too. Someone wanted me as their partner, their equal. "When do we start?" "I'll have the paperwork drawn up tomorrow. We close Friday." Friday, 3 days away, that's fast. "It has to be. 2 other investors are sniffing around. But the seller likes cash and she likes that we're keeping it in the family business. Brother-sister team, reminds her of her own kids." I should have asked more questions, should have demanded to see the property first, review the inspection reports, verify the comps, but Andrew was my brother, the man who'd protected me since childhood, who'd never lied to me about anything that mattered. "Send me the paperwork." "Ready, drafting it. Wire instructions will be included. $400,000 from you, $450,000 from me, closing costs split down the middle." "Andrew? Yeah, Mom would be proud. She's watching us, Vic, I can feel it." 3 days later, I wired $400,000 to the escrow account, every dollar I'd saved, every sacrifice I'd made, every dream I'd built, all for my brother, all for our family, all for the biggest mistake of my fucking life. But I didn't know that yet. I was still living in the fairy tale where blood meant something, where promises made over a dead mother's body actually meant something. I was about to learn that some people will use your love as a weapon, and the people who hurt you worst are the ones you never see coming. The house was beautiful. Even under layers of peeling paint and overgrown weeds, I could see the bones, sunlight flooding the windows, original trim, hardwood floors begging to shine again. This is it, I said to Andrew the first time we walked through as owners. This is the one that'll change everything. He smiled, but kept glancing at his phone, stepping out to take calls. Sorry, Vic, other deals blowing up. I tried to be patient, we both had separate projects. But this house was supposed to be different. This was our project, our tribute to Mom. I showed him the renovation timeline I drafted, contractor bids, permit schedules, materials list. We need to lock in demo dates, and Andrew waved it off. Don't stress, I've got a crew I trust. I want to stress, I put $400,000 into this. He nodded. Of course, we're partners, but I never met that crew, never saw any of his systems. So I handled everything: permit paperwork, hiring contractors, sourcing materials, chasing down city approvals. I worked my day job from 8 to 5, then hit the house until midnight. Weekends were for Home Depot and spreadsheets. Andrew, he was always on a plane, in a meeting, closing another deal. And when he did show up, it was to shake hands and introduce me as the project manager. No, I'd correct, I'm a 50-50 partner. He'd laugh, of course, that's what I meant. But the contractors never asked me for final decisions. They looked to him. One even called to ask me to confirm a change Andrew had approved: upgraded tile for the master bath. What tile change? I asked, confused. Andrew said you both agreed, he replied. We hadn't. I'd chosen those tiles weeks ago carefully to stay within budget. I called Andrew. It's a minor upgrade, he said casually. Couple thousand more, worth it. You should have told me. You're right, he said, just trying to move quickly. But his voice was off, dismissive. The cracks were widening. When I tried to schedule a budget review, he canceled. Client emergency. Then ghosted for 2 more weeks. By month 4, I was running the entire renovation alone. Every call, every change order, every dollar tracked and stretched to stay under budget. The house was stunning: restored floors, custom kitchen, period correct fixtures, the kind of place that makes people gasp at open houses. But I wasn't gasping, I was exhausted and suspicious. Why was Andrew showing up anymore? Why was every meeting pushed to next week? Why did every contractor treat him like the boss and me like a sidekick? I couldn't explain it yet, but I was about to. And when the truth came out, it would shatter everything I thought I knew, not just about my brother, but about family, loyalty, and the price of trust. I should have known something was wrong when Andrew didn't answer my calls for 3 days straight. We were supposed to meet Tuesday morning to finalize the listing strategy. The house was done, 6 months of work, but it was fucking gorgeous. Professional photos scheduled for Thursday. Market analysis showing we could list at $1.3 million, maybe $1.35 if we priced it right. $350,000 profit minimum. Split 50-50, my $175,000 payout would set me up for the next level of investing. Tuesday came and went, no Andrew. Wednesday brought a voicemail. Hey Vic, got tied up with another project. Let's push our meeting to Friday. Friday, always next week. Always later, but I didn't have time to be annoyed. The staging company was coming Thursday to prep for photos. I needed to coordinate final details, make sure everything was perfect. Thursday morning, I pulled into the driveway at 7 a.m. with coffee and my checklist. 3 hours before the staging crew arrived. Time to do one final walkthrough, touch up any scuffs, make sure every detail was magazine ready. The driveway was empty. That wasn't unusual. Andrew rarely showed up this early. But something felt different, too quiet, like the house was holding its breath. I walked up to the front door, keys ready, and stopped. The lockbox was gone. I stared at the spot where it had been hanging for 6 months, the brass lockbox that held our spare key, the one every contractor and vendor had used, gone. Maybe Andrew moved it for security. Maybe he'd given the staging company a different access method. I used my key. It didn't work. I tried again, thinking maybe I'd grabbed the wrong key ring. But no, this was definitely the right key. The same key I'd been using for 6 months. It didn't fit. My hand started shaking. I walked around to the back door. Same thing, key didn't work, like the locks had been changed. But why would the locks be changed? We weren't listing until next week. The staging company was coming in 3 hours. I called the staging company. Hi, this is Victoria Scott. I need to confirm the access details for the East Austin property this morning. Oh, hi, Victoria. Actually, we got a call yesterday canceling the staging. The owner said the property was no longer going to market. The owner, not owner's owner. Who called you? Andrew Bailey. He said plans had changed and to bill him for the cancellation fee. I hung up. My chest felt like someone was sitting on it. Breathing was hard. The world was tilting sideways. I called Andrew straight to voicemail. Andrew, call me back right now. I'm at the house and something's wrong with the locks. And why was the staging canceled? Call me. I tried again, voicemail. I sat in my car outside the house I'd spent 6 months renovating, watching the sunrise hit the windows I'd personally cleaned, and felt my world start to crumble. Something was very, very wrong. I drove to the Travis County Clerk's office. If there was a problem with the property, there would be records, liens, transfers, permits, something that would explain why my key didn't work. I need to look up recent filings for this property, I told the clerk, handing over the address. She typed for a few minutes, frowning at her screen. Here we go, looks like, oh, this property changed hands recently. Changed hands, deed transfer filed on, let's see, Tuesday, 2 days ago. 2 days ago, while I was calling Andrew about our listing meeting. Can you tell me who bought it? Purchased by Lone Star Development LLC for $1.2 million cash transaction. The floor dropped out from under me, $1.2 million cash Tuesday while I was leaving voicemails about staging and listing strategies. My house had been sold. My house, my $400,000 investment, my 6 months of work sold without my knowledge. Ma'am, are you okay? I realized I was gripping the counter so hard my knuckles were white. Can you? Can you tell me who the seller was? More typing. Seller listed as Bailey Properties LLC. Bailey Properties, Andrew's company, not our company, not Scott Bailey Development or Victoria and Andrew LLC. Bailey Properties, like I'd never existed. I drove home in a haze, nothing made sense. How could Andrew sell a property I owned half of? How could he transfer a deed without my signature unless? I pulled out the folder of paperwork from our original purchase. 6 months ago, when I'd wired $400,000 to escrow, I'd signed a stack of documents. Purchase agreement, title, paperwork, partnership documents. I trusted Andrew to handle the details while I focused on the money transfer. Big mistake. The partnership agreement was clear. Bailey Properties LLC was the sole owner of the property. Victoria Scott was listed as a project consultant with profit-sharing arrangements to be determined upon sale. Profit-sharing arrangements to be determined, not 50-50 partnership, not equal ownership, project consultant. I read it 3 times before it sank in. Andrew had never made me his partner, he'd made me his employee, and I'd funded the entire thing. My phone buzzed, text message from an unknown number. Victoria, this is David Chen from Lone Star Development. We purchased the East Austin property this week, found some personal items in the house that might be yours. Can you pick them up? Personal items. I drove back to the house. David Chen was waiting in the driveway holding a cardboard box. You must be Victoria, sorry about the confusion. The seller said you were the project manager and might have left some things behind. Project manager, can I ask, when did you first contact Andrew about buying this property? David checked his phone. Let's see. Initial contact was about 3 weeks ago. We'd been looking for a renovated craftsman in this neighborhood for a client. Andrew said he might have something coming available soon. 3 weeks ago. While I was picking out final fixtures and coordinating the last contractor visits, Andrew had been negotiating the sale. Did he mention a partner, a co-owner? David shook his head. Just said he was the owner and developer, mentioned he had a good project manager handling the renovation details. Project manager, I took the box. Inside were my tools, my notebook with 6 months of renovation notes, and a small framed photo of Mom I'd kept on the kitchen windowsill during construction. It was like finding my own belongings in a grave. The property is beautiful, David said. Your work was incredible. Andrew said you were the best project manager he'd ever worked with. I drove home and called my lawyer. I need to understand something about a property transaction. It took 2 hours and several phone calls, but the picture became clear. Andrew had structured the original purchase so that Bailey Properties LLC was the sole owner. My $400,000 had been classified as a development loan, not an investment. The promissory note buried in our paperwork gave me profit-sharing rights but no ownership stake. And the promissory note had an interesting clause, profit distributions at sole discretion of Bailey Properties LLC. Sole discretion, meaning Andrew could decide I got nothing, and apparently he had. Is this legal? I asked my lawyer. Unfortunately, yes, you signed documents agreeing to these terms. The question is whether you understood what you were signing. I hadn't. I trusted my brother to handle the paperwork while I handled the money. Another big mistake. That evening, I tried calling Andrew one more time. This time, he answered, "Hey, Vic." His voice was casual, normal, like nothing had happened. "Where the fuck are you? Austin, why? Why? Because our house sold and I found out from the county clerk's office." Silence, long silence. "Andrew, look, Vic, I was going to call you about that." "You were going to call me about selling my $400,000 investment without telling me? It's not that simple. It's exactly that simple. We were partners. You sold our property without my knowledge. We weren't partners, Vic. You were a project consultant with profit-sharing arrangements." The coldness in his voice hit me like a slap. "That's not what you told me 6 months ago. I told you we'd work together, and we did. You did great work on that project. My great work that I funded with $400,000, which was structured as a development loan, not an equity investment. The paperwork was clear. The paperwork I'd trusted him to handle. Where's my money, Andrew? What money? My $400,000 plus my share of the profit." Another silence. When he spoke again, his voice had changed, harder. "Vic, there wasn't any profit after expenses. Development costs ran over budget. Carrying costs were higher than projected. By the time we paid all the contractors and vendors, the sale barely covered our total investment. That's impossible. We budgeted everything. I tracked every expense." "You tracked the expenses you could see. There were other costs, financing fees, insurance, legal costs, permits that went over budget." "Show me the numbers." "What?" "Show me a full accounting of every expense, every cost, every fee. I want to see where my $400,000 went." "Vic, I don't think you're right. It's not necessary because you're going to pay me back today." Andrew laughed, actually fucking laughed. "Pay you back what? A development loan that went into a project that broke even? There's nothing to pay back. There's $400,000 to pay back, my $400,000. That money went into the project sold, the cycle is complete. The cycle isn't complete until I get paid. You got paid, you got 6 months of project management experience and a nice addition to your portfolio. I couldn't breathe, this wasn't my brother talking, this was a stranger wearing my brother's voice. Andrew, what the fuck is happening here? What's happening is that you're upset because a business deal didn't work out the way you expected, but that's business, Vic. Sometimes deals don't go as planned. This wasn't a business deal, this was family. No, it wasn't, it was a development project and it's over. The line went dead. I sat in my empty apartment, holding a silent phone, and felt the last 21 years of my life rewrite themselves. My brother hadn't just stolen my money. He'd stolen my trust, my future, and my faith in everything I thought I knew about family, but he'd also made one critical mistake. He'd underestimated what I was willing to do to get my life back. I didn't sleep for 3 days, couldn't eat, couldn't think about anything except that phone call. The casual way Andrew had dismissed my $400,000 like it was pocket change. The coldness in his voice when he called me upset instead of devastated, like I was being dramatic instead of robbed. By the fourth day, I was sitting on my bathroom floor at 3 a.m., crying so hard I thought I might throw up when something shifted. The tears stopped. The shaking stopped, and something cold and sharp settled in my chest. Fuck Andrew, and fuck feeling sorry for myself. I had work to do. First, I called every contractor who'd worked on the house. 23 different vendors over 6 months. Electricians, plumbers, flooring specialists, painters. Hi, this is Victoria Scott from the East Austin Craftsman Project. I'm doing a final accounting and need to verify your payment records. Every single one told me the same thing. They'd been paid in full by checks from Bailey Properties LLC. Can you tell me the total amount you were paid? I built a spreadsheet, every payment, every vendor, every cost, total renovation expenses, $127,000, not the $300,000 plus Andrew had claimed, not even close. Purchase price $850,000, renovation costs $127,000, sale price $1.2 million, profit $223,000. Andrew had made $250,000 using my money and my work, and told me there was no profit. Second, I hired a private investigator. I need you to find everything you can about Bailey Properties LLC and Andrew Bailey personally, assets, other properties, financial records, anything public. Sarah Kim was a former FBI agent who specialized in financial fraud. She was expensive, but I had to know what I was dealing with. How deep do you want me to go? Deep enough to understand how fucked I am. 3 days later, Sarah called with results that made my blood run cold. Victoria, your brother has been busy. She'd found records of 4 other properties purchased and sold by Bailey Properties LLC in the past 2 years, all following the same pattern: purchase with development loans from private investors, renovation managed by project consultants, sale to corporate buyers at significant profit. Who were the other investors? 3 different individuals, all signed similar paperwork to yours: development loans, not equity investments, profit sharing at Bailey Properties' discretion. Did any of them get paid? 2 filed civil suits for repayment, both settled out of court with confidentiality agreements. 2 other people, 2 other victims. There's more, Sarah said. Andrew Bailey personally owns a $2.1 million house in Westlake Hills. Purchased 8 months ago, cash. 8 months ago, right around the time he'd approached me about our project, he bought a $2 million house with cash while telling me he needed a partner for $450,000. It gets worse. The property records show the purchase was funded through Bailey Properties LLC, and there's a $1.8 million credit line secured against that property. Andrew hadn't needed my money to buy our house. He'd had plenty of his own. He'd used my money to buy his personal mansion. I asked Sarah to dig deeper into Andrew's finances: bank records, credit reports, business filings, anything she could access legally. The picture that emerged was devastating. Andrew Bailey wasn't a struggling house flipper who'd hit some bad luck. He was a predator who'd built a business model around finding private investors, taking their money for projects, keeping the profits, and using legal technicalities to avoid paying them back. And he'd been doing it for years. How many people has he stolen from? That I can prove: 6, including you. Total amount, roughly $1.8 million. $1.8 million, stolen from people who trusted him, people like me. I asked Sarah for contact information for the other victims. If Andrew had done this before, maybe we could work together. The first call was to Jennifer Martinez, a retired teacher who'd loaned Andrew $150,000 for a condo renovation in 2019. I lost my entire retirement savings, she told me. He promised 30% return on investment. When the project sold for way more than projected, he claimed there were cost overruns and no profit to share. Second call was to Mark and Susan Chen, who'd invested $200,000 in a duplex project. We got back $50,000 after threatening to sue, Mark said, but only because we had a good lawyer and could prove some of his expense claims were fraudulent. The third call was to David Rodriguez, a veteran who'd used his disability settlement to fund a $180,000 investment with Andrew. He's still fighting me in court, David said. Been 2 years. I'm broke from legal fees and he's got better lawyers. Every story was the same: trust, investment, months of work, profitable sales, claims of no profit, legal technicalities, victims left with nothing. But hearing their stories did something unexpected. It made me angry instead of sad, not just for me, for all of us. Andrew hadn't just stolen my money, he'd built a career out of stealing from people who trusted him. People who'd worked hard, saved carefully, and made the mistake of believing family business meant something. That night, I called my mother's sister, Aunt Patricia. She'd always been the family truth teller, the one who asked uncomfortable questions at holiday dinners. Aunt Pat, I need to ask you something about Andrew. Oh, honey, I wondered when this call would come. You wondered. Victoria, your brother has been borrowing money from family members for years. Small amounts, usually a few thousand here and there, always with sob stories about cash flow problems and promises to pay it back quickly. Did he pay people back? Sometimes, usually not. Your cousin Michael loaned him $15,003 years ago for a property deposit, never saw a dime. Your uncle Robert gave him $8,000 for contractor payments. Same thing. My brother had been running scams on our own family. Why didn't anyone tell me? Because Andrew specifically asked everyone not to, said he was embarrassed about his financial struggles and didn't want his successful little sister to worry about him. Successful little sister, while he was stealing from everyone who loved him. Pat, he stole $400,000 from me. Silence, long silence. Oh, Victoria, oh, honey, she cried. Actually cried for me over the phone. What are you going to do? I'm going to destroy him. That night, I made a decision that would have horrified the old Victoria, the one who believed in family loyalty and keeping private business private. I was going to file a police report, not just for my money, for all of us. Every person Andrew had stolen from deserved justice. But first, I needed to try one more time to handle it within the family. I called Andrew. We need to meet today. Vic, I don't think. Andrew, I found out about Jennifer Martinez, and Mark and Susan Chen and David Rodriguez, I know about all of them. Silence. I know you've stolen from at least 6 people, including family members. I know you bought your mansion with money you stole from investors. I know you've been running this scam for years. More silence. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to pay back every person you've stolen from, starting with my $400,000 plus interest. You have 1 week. Or what? Or I go to the police and the FBI and every real estate investor group in Texas and the local news stations, and I make sure everyone knows exactly what Andrew Bailey does to people who trust him. You wouldn't. Try me, I hung up. 6 hours later, Andrew showed up at my apartment. I'd never seen him look scared before, but he was scared now. Vic, we can work this out. Write me a check for $450,000. That covers my initial investment plus interest and damages. I don't have that kind of cash. Then sell your house. I can't sell my house. I have a mortgage, commitments. Commitments you funded with stolen money. Andrew sat down heavily on my couch. For a moment, he looked like the brother I remembered, tired, defeated. It wasn't supposed to go this far. What wasn't? Any of it. The first time with Jennifer, it really was just cost overruns, but then I saw how easy it was to structure these deals so I kept the profits, and the money was so good. So you decided to steal from your own sister? I never thought of it as stealing. I thought of it as borrowing your investment while building my business. With no intention of paying me back. He didn't answer. Andrew, do you understand what you've done? Not just to me, but to everyone. Jennifer lost her retirement. David's fighting you in court with money he needs for medical care. You've destroyed people's lives. I know. Do you really? He looked up at me with eyes that reminded me of the brother I'd once loved. I fucked up, Vic. I fucked up everything. For a second, I felt sorry for him. Then I remembered the coldness in his voice when he dismissed my $400,000 as a business loss. Write me a check today or I file a police report tomorrow. I can't write you a check for $450,000. I don't have it. Then we're done. I stood up and walked to my door, holding it open. Vic, wait, please, you're my sister. No, I'm not. I'm another one of your victims, and unlike the others, I'm not going to suffer in silence. Andrew left without another word. The next morning, I drove to the Austin Police Department and filed a formal complaint for theft, fraud, and forgery. The detective assigned to my case, Maria Gonzalez, was thorough and sympathetic. Financial fraud cases involving family members are always complicated, she told me. But you've got good documentation, and if there are other victims, that strengthens the case significantly. I gave her Sarah Kim's investigation results and contact information for the other victims. Within a week, Andrew Bailey was arrested on charges of theft, fraud, and running a continuing criminal enterprise. The local news picked up the story: Austin real estate developer accused of defrauding investors. The phone calls started immediately. 3 more victims came forward, people who'd seen the news coverage and recognized Andrew's methods. The FBI opened an investigation into interstate fraud. Andrew's assets were frozen pending the criminal case. His $2.1 million house was seized as proceeds from criminal activity. But the most satisfying moment came 2 months later when Detective Gonzalez called with an update. We recovered $1.3 million in assets. That's enough to pay back most of the victims, including full restitution for your case. Full restitution? My $400,000 plus interest plus damages, but more than that, justice for everyone Andrew had hurt. The trial took 8 months. Andrew pled guilty to multiple felony counts and was sentenced to 6 years in federal prison. 6 years to think about what he'd done to people who loved him. I didn't attend the sentencing, didn't want to see him in handcuffs or hear whatever sob story his lawyer prepared, but Jennifer Martinez called me afterward. Victoria, I wanted to thank you. I never would have gotten my money back if you hadn't been brave enough to file that police report. Brave? I'd never thought of it as brave, I'd thought of it as necessary. Today, I run my own real estate investment firm. Legitimately, with proper contracts, transparent accounting, and investors who actually receive the profits they're promised. I've learned to trust my instincts instead of trusting family bonds that turn out to be illusions. And I've learned that sometimes the people who hurt you most are the ones you never see coming. But I've also learned that you don't have to suffer in silence when someone uses your love as a weapon. You can fight back. You can tell the truth. You can make sure they never hurt anyone else the way they hurt you. And sometimes, if you're lucky, you can build something better from the pieces they left behind. Andrew stole my money and my trust, but he accidentally gave me something more valuable, the knowledge that I'm strong enough to stand up for myself even when it means standing up to family. Especially when it means standing up to family, because blood doesn't mean shit if it comes with strings attached. And promises made over a mother's grave don't mean anything if the person making them was never planning to keep them. The real inheritance mom left us wasn't her values or her love. It was the strength to survive when the people who should protect you decide to destroy you instead. And that inheritance can never be stolen. Thanks for sticking around to the end. If this story hit you in the feels or the spine, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us for more real life revenge on Revenge Drive.